I wasn't going to make another video tonight. I'm all snuggled up on my couch in my little fluffy blanket, my little book that I'm reading on screenwriting, because I got some ideas for some movies, and I'm thinking about my next step in life. You don't care about that. You're saying bear market coming this year, and I'm not so sure that we're going to see a bear market or a recession this year. I do think we'll see one potentially under the Trump administration, but I don't think it's going to be this year, and there's a few reasons. One, as we know, when a new president comes in a lot of ways, they're still under the previous administration and their policies. Now, that won't stop Trump from taking credit. Like, for example, today Netflix had an amazing earnings report. Well, earnings are over the last quarter. That is the last 4 months. But Trump is probably going to take credit for Netflix, right? He's probably going to say, look, my policies, I'm president, Netflix already is doing better, even though, it was old news. So I don't think we're going to see a recession or any sort of bear market this year. Partially because we're still under Biden's policies in a lot of ways, and partially because Trump's policies will take time to implement. First, we need to see what his actual policy is, right? He said he was going to do really high tariffs. Now he's saying, well, they might not be as high as initially expected, but they still might be high. And all of these things in politics take time. So to say like, well, he's going to put it into place and it's going to start working immediately, or he's going to deport these people and put in the tariffs and the jobs will come home immediately. Not necessarily, right? I don't want to get too lengthy here, but when you put in the tariffs, people think, well, it'll bring jobs home. Well, that's not so quick, right? You don't just bring the jobs home. First, where are they going to go? What state? Companies are going to look for the best deal. Will you give us a tax break? Will you give us some sort of incentive or perk to come to your state? And they'll have bidding wars between one state and another state. And then maybe they will decide on a state. And then they have to find the land and build the factory. They have to improve the infrastructure, the ports, the bridges, the roads, the airlines. All of these things have to be improved. Then they have to open the factory, then they have to hire the workers, then they have to bring in and train the people and start doing all of that. That can take years. And so people think, well, they'll bring the jobs home. But then the other side of that is, well, you bring the jobs home, but now you're paying everyone a much higher wage because our cost of living is higher here than it is in, say, China or Bangladesh, where we make a lot of our stuff. And then people go, well, even if we're paying higher wages, things will get cheaper because we're making them here in the United States. Well, we might make some of the stuff here, but the materials to make those things will still be imported. So that's number one. Number two, a lot of the companies already have their inventory for the next, say, couple of months in warehouses or in storage sitting here in the state. They've already got their inventory. So we might see it where he imposes these tariffs next month, and the companies don't really have to raise prices. One, because they already have the inventory, and two, because a lot of these companies have something called a high moat. They've got a lot of cash. They have a lot of money. So it might be something where in the next quarter, which could be 4 months from now when companies start reporting their earnings, wow, what do you know? The tariffs haven't impacted them. So, and then Trump will come out and say, see, I told you my tariffs didn't do anything. They didn't. Well, that's because these companies already had the inventory here, number one. Number two, I'm losing my train of thought. Number two, they have a wide moat, and in some cases, companies are in wait and see mode, so they might not raise the prices out. Oh, and another example is companies have already, in anticipation of his tariffs, have already started raising prices preventatively, like Chipotle across the board recently, 2% increase on everything because they thought, well, more inflation is coming, so we'll get ahead of it by raising the prices now. So first, we have to wait a couple of quarters, right? We wait for the 1 quarter while they sell off their existing inventory. Then they have to go and order stuff from China, which maybe has tariffs, or Canada or Mexico. Then that could still not have a direct impact on the price because of their wide moat. There are lots of cash. They have lots of money. They might be in wait and see period, like Elf, the cosmetic company. Elf said, see here, look, I got their lip balm. Elf, right here, Elf. Elf said, we're going to wait and see until 2026. So even still, with some of these companies who are now in the second quarter ordering stuff from overseas, then we have to wait for that whole quarter. So we're talking about year one, a lot probably won't get done. In terms of affecting the markets. Year two, it might be 2 quarters worth of time before we start actually seeing the effect of these tariffs, because it won't happen right away. Like Elf said, we will wait and see, and then we will raise prices. Other humongous companies might do the same thing. So, we could see a year or two where the markets go up and up and up, and there isn't a lot of impact. There isn't a lot of selling. There isn't a recession. There isn't a pullback or anything major until we start to see now companies who have already stocked up on their inventory and deplete the inventory and then have to purchase new inventory, and then they might have to wait and see, and then they might raise prices. We're talking about a year, 2 years, several quarters into next year maybe, until we see an impact. How are these tariffs and other things that he might do impacting these companies? That's when they might start raising prices. And then it could be another quarter after that until we see the results. Well, is it impacting spending? Are people spending less? Right? So people have this idea in their mind that he is in and it's different today, or he's in and the policy is his right now. And the reality is these things take time. So I don't think we're seeing a bear market this year. I don't think we're seeing a recession this year. I think year 2, 3, or even maybe 4 of his presidency is when we will see one, or maybe even year 5 when he's no longer president and he can step away and go, oh, look, the new guy comes in and it's chaos because I'm not here. When it's really, in fact, his policies just taking a while to materialize. You got it? All right. Smash the follow if you want to learn how to invest. See you later. Okay, so it's the following morning, and I had one other thought as I was watching this video back, which is a lot of these companies might have a lot of cash reserves and enough inventory to skirt all the way around the next 4 years of inflation and tariffs impacting their business, just long enough for Trump to leave office, if he is willing to leave and doesn't try for some third term shit. And then they have to raise prices to make up for the capital that they lost, or the revenue, that they lost over the last couple of years. And it ends up, accidentally making the Democrat look like the bad president, because a Democrat will likely get elected after Trump. And then the prices go up and they go, oh, when Trump was president, the prices weren't low. And then the Democrat comes in. Again, another point to reiterate that these things take time, and a lot of companies are sitting on massive amounts of inventory or cash, which can allow them to wiggle around this, potentially.